Well, I guess I can't say foreshadowing or spoiler anymore when it is actually happening. So in Ireland, there were fuel protests, blockades, and the police have been brought in to clear out the protests and the blockades already. So we've heard about the disaster that is going to be coming down the pike as fuel supplies basically dwindle around the world, right? The Strait of Hormuz was shut down because of Iran. And now we're blockading it too because, I don't know, that's how shit works nowadays. A massive amount of oil went through the Strait of Hormuz. So it was like, 10 million barrels a day of oil went through the Strait of Hormuz, and that's basically entirely been taken off the market. On top of that, a lot of oil production facilities have been damaged. So even when this not a war between the United States and Iran is over, they're not necessarily going to be able to get capacity back up to speed anytime soon, because it's just going to take time to fix a lot of equipment. And so the issue is up until now, there have been decent supplies of oil around the world. There's strategic stockpiles. There's basically just, stuff that's already in the system. But that is slowly getting drained basically out of the system. It takes a long time for ships to get from the Middle East to wherever they're going all around the world. So once those ships go to sea, that oil is still going to come in from a time period. But as soon as those ships get drained, there's not going to be any more ships coming in. And the interesting thing to think about this too is if it takes a month for a ship to get from, let's say, the Middle East to wherever it's going, once that system runs dry, what that fundamentally means is the moment they can turn on the taps again, it will take at least a month before the first ship gets to wherever it's going. So we're dealing with some very major, god-awful oil shocks. And I think it's one of those things, especially in the United States, like we hear about this, like we see the gas prices going up a bit. Again, here in North Carolina, when I've driven, gas is $4 a gallon. But honestly, I mean, it's been $4 a gallon in my lifetime a couple of times, right? Recently during the COVID idiocy, previously in the past, it's been pretty high. And I think there's a... we're a bit sanguine about it, right? The people that don't have money, right? The people that, are counting their pennies, they obviously feel it. But I feel like for a lot of our society, we just don't feel it yet. It's like, it's expensive when you go to the pump, but that's not actually degrading a lot of people's lives at this point. So that's what's interesting with this thing. In Ireland, the fuel prices going up by enough that folks are actually protesting this already. Dublin, Irish police on Sunday cleared tractors and trucks that have been blocking traffic and blockading oil infrastructure across the country during a wave of protests against surging fuel prices. In a bid to ease the discontent, the government announced a 500 million euro worth of spending increases and tax cuts to soften the impact on consumers and businesses. Protesters, angered by a more than 20% rise in diesel prices since the outbreak of the Iran war, had used vehicles to block an oil refinery, 2 ports, a fuel terminal, and Irish roads. So one of the things to be thinking about this too, and again, not to be too snarky on this, but it's only been a 20% rise so far. So they were blockading shit and protesting shit, and the police had to come in over a 20% rise in fuel prices. What happens when that becomes a 120% rise in fuel prices? The protests caused major transport disruptions in Dublin and left about a third of Ireland's petrol stations without fuel, creating what Finance Minister Simon Harris described as a very dangerous moment for the country. Police removed vehicles blocking access to Ireland's only oil refinery on Saturday and cleared a blockade of Galway Port, a major fuel depot, and removed roadblocks in Dublin on Sunday. The government has refused to negotiate with the protesters, who included farmers, drivers, and contractors who complained that an earlier 250 million euro package to temporarily cut taxes on petrol and diesel did not go far enough. But after talks with agricultural and transport industry groups, Dublin announced measures including a 10 cent per liter reduction of diesel and petrol, and a delay in an increase in a carbon tax. A fuel subsidy support scheme will also be introduced for farmers and fisheries, the government said. A poll in the Sunday Independent newspaper showed that 56% of voters surveyed supported the protesters, but most of supporters of the two governing parties opposed them. So anyways, 56% of the people supported the protesters for what they're doing. And so this is going to become, again, the curious thing with society and all that is what happens when this gets worse. Again, I've been talking about this for a while with the whole idea of return to office versus work from home, and how, oh, that's just been that's been a ball that's gotten bounced back and forth over the past number of years after COVID. And so a lot of companies now are pushing for return to office. Let's face it, to eliminate employees is really why they're doing it. But one of the things that's become interesting here is what happens when return to office just is no longer viable. Again, you think about this at $4 gas or $5 gas. Again, think about $5 gas. If you have somebody driving 60 miles to work, which here in the United States isn't necessarily insane. But let's say they basically burn 2 gallons of gas to get to work, right? Whether they get 30 miles a gallon and they go 60 miles, or whether they get less and they go shorter, let's say they're burning 2 gallons of gas to go to work. Gas gets up to $5 a gallon. That means it's costing them $20 per day, $20 per day, just in gas, just to commute, right? That's $100 per week, and that is over $400 per month just for gas, not for insurance, not for parking, not for the rest of it, right? So you're looking at like $5,000 or more per year just to be able to drive to work. How many people can functionally afford that? Right? We talk about that with the American society. Something like 50%, 60% of the American workforce literally can't deal with a major bill. Right? So if $1,000 bill comes across the table, a $2,000 bill comes across the table, you need a new transmission, you broke a tooth, whatever, something like that. Literally, a huge number of our population can't even deal with that level of disruption. And so now you're talking about thousands of dollars more per year in gas. I mean, the payment comes out slower. Instead of getting like one $1,000 bill, you have to pay that over a couple of months. But that gets expensive quick. And again, I just keep thinking about this with society and the anger, right? I've talked about this for a while. Where people are angry, they're angry. And the curious thing is, though, they are angry, and then they're trying to find the reasons that they should be angry, right? But the important thing to understand is they're already angry. Is it really Trump? Is it really Biden? Is it really, Christianity being shoved down our throats, or gender being shoved down our throats? Is it really, are we angry for these reasons that we say we're angry? Or are we simply angry and we desperately want to validate why our anger is acceptable? Ergo, that's why we push these ideas about why, well, the reason that I'm angry is, and then you fill in the blanks. And so as things get worse, right? Because Trump doesn't have a fucking plan. Fuck me. Holy shit. Like, he doesn't know what the fuck's going on. We are blockading the Strait of Hormuz. Literally, Iran said, well, if you want to ship anything through the Strait of Hormuz, you have to pay us. So now Trump is like, that's unacceptable. We are blockading the Strait of Hormuz, and we are going to punish any ship that paid the Iranian government in order to be able to sail through the Strait of Hormuz. This doesn't sound like a plan. This doesn't sound like a plan, right? And the curious thing is, I was listening to some economists a while ago, and they were talking about where the next big macroeconomic event will happen. Again, the depression or the recession. And the curious thing is they were actually talking about Southeast Asia, which is getting hit right now, right? And they were talking about it with, there's a lot of, with financial stuff. There's a lot of financial stuff going on in Southeast Asia that on its own is fine enough. But again, if it starts unwinding, if it starts falling apart, it starts to be a domino effect. Again, as I talked about before with the Great Recession, when Bear Stearns fell, I did not give a shit about Bear Stearns. Again, I vaguely remember it as like, ooh, Bear Stearns fell. That's bad. Whew. Thank God it doesn't have anything to do with me. Anyways, I've been talking about that with Southeast Asia. A lot of things going on there. Is again, you start having the collapses. And so what happens as the economy starts falling apart, and you have populations that are already just fundamentally angry? Where is that gonna go? Where is that gonna go? And so we're already seeing the petrol protests in Ireland now. It's only going to get worse, right? The diesel prices keep going up. The airlines, almost every single airline is already pulling back their flights and that type of thing. I don't know. What do you think about this? What do you think about petrol strikes in Ireland, in Europe already? What do you think about the lack of petrol and all that in Southeast Asia? What do you think about the fact that our president has no fucking clue what the hell he's doing, but by God, he's not gonna stop? I don't know. Put your thoughts down below. See y'all later.